Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are dialing in from today. Another episode of the Decrypting Crypto live stream. And we've got a bunch of stuff to run through today. We'll be joined by a couple other guests as usual, but I'm going to kick it off with the news updates. So first one is Bitcoin extends market dominance as Ethereum's market sees sharp decline. So the majority of the cryptocurrency market is back to trading fairly bearishly at this point in time. Specifically, the market capitalization of Bitcoin reached 47.52% on June 6th, which is the highest market share since July 2021. On the other hand, the market capitalization of Ethereum on June 6th was 17.74%, which is a new low for the digital asset in terms of its dominance since October 2021. So look, in times of concern with the crypto market or just the markets in general, as we're seeing, Bitcoin does kind of rise to the top. It is the most dominant cryptocurrency. It is in times like this that it is important to have the majority of your portfolio in Bitcoin and also to be starting to accumulate more Bitcoin as well, in our view. The second one is human rights activists call on Congress to have a free mind approach to Bitcoin. So human rights activists have urged Congress to learn about Bitcoin and the benefit that it could have for its nation, and particularly for nations that are suffering conflict and hyperinflation. And quoted here, when currency catastrophes struck Cuba, Afghanistan, and Venezuela, Bitcoin gave our compatriots refuge, the letter states. Another quote, when crackdowns on civil liberties befell Nigeria, Belarus, and Hong Kong, Bitcoin helped keep the fight against authoritarianism afloat. So I'm having a shocker this morning. Also, another quote from a Ukrainian activist said, Bitcoin has directly assisted in fundraising for soldiers in the fight against Russia. So she says, for me, Bitcoin is not just technology. It is literally saving the lives of my friends and many Ukrainians. Without it, we would not have been able to raise money so quickly to pay for protective equipment for soldiers in the early days of the Russian invasion. So people are realizing that Bitcoin is a safe haven, and there are conflicts between countries that cause inflation, wars, oppression, and authoritarianism. I almost got it. And that it can actually help. So moving on to number 3, institutions keep buying the dip as weekly Bitcoin inflows hits 126 million. So more than $500 million has been invested in exchange-traded Bitcoin funds since the start of the year, with much of it flowing into exchange-traded funds last week, according to CoinShares. But more broadly, digital asset investment products saw net inflows totaling 100 million last week. Okay, so that is pretty big. Now, Ethereum does continue to suffer, but it is showing that institutions are still piling money in at this point in time. So, you know, when you understand that institutions do kind of control the money flow within most markets, then maybe it's a safe time to be thinking about also dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. Last one today, the Australian Mayor suggests tax payments, or an Australian Mayor suggests tax payments to be made in Bitcoin. So this is the Mayor of Australia's Gold Coast. His name is Tom Tate, has suggested the city residents may be paying council rates or local property tax in Bitcoin. So Bitcoin critics have flagged concerns that the price volatility of cryptocurrencies could lead to wild fluctuations in local council revenue. However, he sees the potential of it longer term, and there is demand, especially here in Australia. So I definitely think that's going to continue across other parts of Australia as well, because I mean, government officials across the world are starting to realize the importance of Bitcoin and the demand around it. And if you do study money and you understand that when the gold standard was removed in 1971, the US dollar just became paper, basically backed by only trust. And with the central banks and the governments that have continued to just print new money at will, that trust has been eroded away over a period of time, and is still continuing to happen, and people are starting to take notice. So although Bitcoin is very volatile, you've got to look at it as a longer term investment, or a longer term technology that's going to make a big difference. So good to see that we have some adoption starting in Australia. All right, over to you, Manny.
Thank you, Michael. Over to the Twitter highlights now. Starting off with good old Peter Schiff, the biggest Bitcoin bear there is. So he talks about Americans increasing their credit card usage, and it's producing stagflation. Now, if you've heard or haven't heard of stagflation, basically it means production of goods and services is dropping. costs of things are going up, so inflation and unemployment is going up. So some scary stuff happening in America. We did speak about this, I think it was in our previous live stream on Monday, where basically Elon Musk thinks that we're going to go into a recession for about 6 to 12 months. And when he opens up his mouth, money moves. And I think Tesla lost about $75 billion worth of investors' money that day. They pulled out of Tesla. So pretty interesting. The guy can move the markets. So next is Lark Davis, an American based in New Zealand. And he's just talking about the consolidation. I spoke about this yesterday in one of our 1K a day monthly catch-ups. So part of our program is we catch up with our top tier program individuals just to give them market updates, let them know what's happening in obviously the course and things that we're sort of releasing. And I basically said exactly what Lark Davis said. I think we're going to be going sideways till the Fed meeting on Saturday, which is Friday in America. New CPI interest rates are going to be coming out, and I think that the market will be very volatile this weekend. So we're going to get a resolution from this sideways range. We are going to go up or we are going to go down. And I can't give you an exact direction because I purely think that it's going to be based on the news that's going to come out of the Fed meeting. And I do have an inclination. I said last night that I believe we should go up before we should go down. But after seeing the S&P perform pretty badly yesterday, it looks like there might be some bad news coming our way. So if Bitcoin takes the market cap of gold, 1 BTC will equal to $500,000. So basically saying that if you had 500K, let's just say, of gold, imagine trying to sort of transport that overseas. You're trying to move countries. Maybe you live in war-torn Ukraine. You really can't transport some of your wealth. But if you have the digital asset of 1 BTC, you can just obviously have your hardware wallet. Hopefully you're not keeping it on an exchange. It's pretty silly to do because it can be hacked. But basically, you can't transport gold as easily as you can sort of send BTC, and the speed at which you can sort of pay someone through utilizing Bitcoin. So he's just kind of, pointing, these guys are just pointing that out, the altcoin daily twins. And lastly, we have Ben Armstrong. He's talking about, his predictions are always wrong. So he said that Bitcoin would never go below 47K last year. So I wouldn't really take too much of what he says for gold. But basically, he's talking about if the ETF, Grayscale ETF, is approved, that, we're going to find that out very soon. He can see Bitcoin sort of pumping up. And I do believe that that would create some positive sentiment. However, furthermore, if some of you remember back in 2018-19, we had sort of Bitcoin, not futures, but we had what's called the backed. There was a backed launch, and it basically created Bitcoin to dump. And I forget if it was I forget what type of contracts they were released, but I think there were contracts released in Bitcoin, and basically it made Bitcoin drop from about 10K to about 7K in the space of a week. So sometimes we believe that news can be positive. But it can have the inverse effect in markets, the same way that, when we saw the Ukraine-Russia war get announced, we had a massive sort of collapse in Bitcoin, people starting to panic sell, thinking that World War III was about to occur. And then you had all that liquidity provide for the whales. And basically, once we hit 25K, it got bought up really quickly, and we went back up to 32K in a matter of a couple of days. So I'd just be wary that there will be some volatility ahead, and we just have to pay attention to see what direction it's going to go through. All right, that's it for the Twitter highlights. Let me bring in Wasim.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you very much. Okay, guys. So today, on Tuesday, we spoke about the Senator Loomis's bill that was being supposed to be submitted to Congress. Now, this has happened this week. It is about 69 or 70-page bill. So it's quite a large bill that covers a lot of things. What I want to do today is just cover some of the highlights that will make sense to most of us. And the first one is some of the things that the bill is suggesting, and they're trying to get through Congress, is that exemption of up to $200 of income from cryptocurrencies from capital gains tax. So this is This is obviously an improvement. The bill does look at putting most cryptocurrencies under the CFTC, but leaves a broad range of tokens to be looked at as securities, and for the SEC to overlook. So these are the ones that have a yield and so forth. So this is a great improvement because, those of you that know, XRP has been in the court with the SEC for quite a long time now, because they were deemed as a security by the SEC. So they're trying to fight that. This gives clear guidelines of what can be a commodity. So Bitcoin and Ethereum are now considered as a commodity and not a security, which means they fall under completely different rules and will make things like what Matt was talking about, the Grayscale ETF, a lot more achievable and easier for us to get. Which is great news for crypto, because once we have an ETF, it will allow large institutions to be able to pull 401k, which is superannuation here in Australia, to pull some 401k and some other large institutional investors to be able to start getting exposure to Bitcoin and Ethereum. It also does state that the courts can rebut any presumptions that the token is a commodity. So it is trying to find that balanced ground. It establishes procedures for companies to register as digital asset exchanges. It tries to also safeguard for the consumers in the event that any company that they use, any firm that they're using, if they do go bankrupt. And I think we saw that with was it Coinbase? Coinbase is having some challenges at the moment, so a lot of people will be uneasy about their crypto on there. If you do have any on there, take it off and put a different exchange. It also requires stablecoin providers to publicly disclose their reserve assets and maintaining that 100% coin to asset value. And this is very, very important because, as we saw recently with the whole Luna debacle, and the UST death spiral and the Luna death spiral, the algorithmic stablecoin, this is going to make stablecoins a bit more safer, a lot more safer, I would presume. It also looking into energy requirements for crypto and the use of green energy and self-regulatory organization for cryptocurrency organizations. Now, there's been a lot of FUD over the past year or so around the amount of electricity and the amount of energy that Bitcoin uses. A lot of it is not founded on truth. It's just a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, because a lot of crypto miners do go towards green energy because it's cheaper and therefore they can become more profitable. This is not usually broadcasted in mainstream media, but now they're looking at energy usage. Also, they're looking at the US government looking into Bitcoin mining for themselves, which is also a great development. And also they are looking at establishing an advisory committee that can regulate for regulation for cryptocurrencies. So what does all of this mean? What all of this means is the United States has been a country that has been quite strict on cryptocurrencies and cryptocurrency services and exchanges, et cetera, et cetera. Now we're looking at them becoming progressive and being open to this. Now, as the United States is the world's largest economy, this is huge. It's very, very big news for crypto. And the next 100 days are going to be critical for the development and the adoption of cryptocurrencies in the United States and in the rest of the world. Moving on to the next one, we've got Bermuda confirms crypto hub ambitions despite market downturns. So Bermuda is one of those countries, one of those islands that is a bit of a tax haven. So a lot of companies, a lot of offshore insurances and whatnot, they go there because they have very lax laws when it comes to taxation and easy to establish businesses. Now, this is a very, very big move for cryptocurrencies because it allows a lot of companies who are looking to be able to establish themselves in countries where it's easier for them to grow, there's more adoption, the laws are quite friendly, and Bermuda's looking at that. And Bermuda's Minister of Economy and Labour, Jason Hayward, actually noted that the government remains unfazed by the recent crash caused by the collapse of the Terra ecosystem in May, and he believes that the market has weathered many storms since 2007. These are people that understand that this is a new technology, and this new technology is going to go through ups and downs, but in the long term, it's going to bring so much good for humanity. He said that the industry downturn is likely to advance our goal and positively impact the long-term growth and the role in this sector. So they understand that right now, because prices are depressed and we're having a lot of pullbacks and crashes or whatever you really want to call it, it gives an opportunity for them to take on these sales that are happening in the cryptocurrency so that they can benefit for when the bull market does return. And lastly, for the adoption highlight, PayPal now offers cryptocurrency transfer services to users. Now, PayPal in America, and this is not available in other countries as far as I know, it's definitely not available in Australia yet, but it's available in America as far as I know. So they've allowed people to be able to buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and Litecoin for a while now. So that's been part of the PayPal wallet. But what they're doing now, which wasn't available till now, is now users can start to transfer their Bitcoin from PayPal to a private wallet or a hardware wallet or an exchange or things like that. This is a huge development because it does make it more mainstream and people can now exchange or transfer cryptocurrencies in and out of PayPal, which wasn't available now. Now, why is this such huge news? Because PayPal has 392 million users worldwide. Now, if we understand that crypto in general has over 200 million users worldwide right now, and we're growing towards that 1 billion user mark, which then will make it mainstream like the internet did in 2005. When PayPal makes this worldwide, that's potentially 392 million users worldwide that will have instant access to cryptocurrencies. And that is going to have a huge impact on the cryptocurrency industry. So that's it from me. Back over to you, Matt.
Thank you, Wasim. Alrighty, guys, we're going to go into market analysis. So starting off with the S&P, we saw a fair bit of a sell-off basically overnight, which is, when we in Australia are sleeping. So we've seen a 2.5% drop in the S&P. So things are kind of looking a little bit shaky leading up to this Fed meeting tomorrow. So maybe people are front running the bad news. Maybe there's some insider trading. People already know what they're going to do in regards to the CPI increase and what the inflation rates are going to be. So maybe people are front running it, or this could be a fake out. So I wouldn't be doing anything just yet personally until we see the report that comes out tomorrow. The DXY is continuously pumping. We've talked about this many times. It's got a negative. It's negatively correlated to Bitcoin. When it pumps, Bitcoin dumps. When it dumps, Bitcoin pumps. And right now, I can see that we've basically the money flow is increasing in the DXY. Is this obviously people that have got insider info about what's going to happen tomorrow and are starting to pump the US dollar? I guess we will have to wait and see. In regards to Bitcoin, we spoke about this with Lark Davis's tweet. We're still in this sideways consolidation range. I was hoping that we would come up to 35,000, but things are kind of looking a little bit shaky right now. The support levels that I'm looking at is 28,700. If we lose this value area low of this sideways range, I expect us to sort of come back down to about 25,000. We could take a little bit of a stop at the golden pocket down here at 27,964. So we'll probably see a bit of a bounce here. But if we can't sort of bounce here, reclaim 28,700, then we're going to retest this $25,000 range. If that doesn't hold, then I'd be looking at the 200 weekly moving average. And right now, let me just see if I can quickly show you guys where that is. That moving average, if it wants to turn on, it's roughly around 20,000, which is the previous all-time high for the previous bull run back here. We never came back down to retest this level, which we previously did in all two previous bull runs. So I think it's going to be an area of high interest. I've also looked at the order books on the large exchanges. There's a lot of buy orders between 20,000 and sort of 18,000, and there's nothing below basically 24,000. So if we break 25,000, look for a quick wick and capitulation down here, and that will coincide with this indicator right here, which is the hash ribbons indicator. I've been talking about this over the last couple of weeks. Once these moving averages cross over, we tend to see miners shut off their machines. This results in what's called minor capitulation, and we see a quick sudden move to the downside. And if I'm going to give you maybe a quick little background history of what it looks like, back here on the 2018 bull run, you can basically see we had capitulation and we went from 6K to 3K. So we lost 50% in the matter of a couple of weeks. We had the same thing occur here during the COVID dump. That's a bit more of a black swan event. And then basically, if we look back in history, that we've got a couple of capitulation events right here. So you can see that it does cause some market fear. And, having already been through this, having been through this and this, I'm not too worried. I'm just absolutely seeing that as an optimal buying opportunity. The issue is with retail investors. This is what retail investors see. Okay, they look at the last 6 months and see all this negative price action in Bitcoin. They're really fearful, especially if they bought anywhere around 50K, 70K. They see that they've lost money, but you've only realized your loss if you're losing. And you probably heard it many a times. All you need to do is actually zoom out with Bitcoin and look at the history of where it's gone, and it's gone up and to the right. Okay, and that's all you have to do. If you are not willing to, take profits on the way up, you don't deserve to basically hold your Bitcoin on the way down. And it just takes some guts and balls to do it. And I know that having gone through these major dumps before, where I had to psychologically train myself, and this is why inside of one of our courses we do money and mindset. It's really difficult as a retail investor to be able to just remain calm in these times and think of, it being an opportunity. Usually, if you are afraid, it usually means that you've overexposed yourself, you've over leveraged yourself, and you've probably put too much money into the cryptoverse than you're willing to lose. And it's one of those things where if you are playing with capital that if you're playing with capital that you shouldn't actually be using, like your weekly rent, maybe you're putting your entire paycheck into that. It's definitely not the best way to go, but stay strong. There is the moving average that I was talking about. It's roughly at 22,400, but as you can see, we can wick below it before we reclaim it as support. So guys, if things are about to get worse, which I do believe they will be, just be patient. I've got buy orders set from 22,000 to 15,000, and I'm going to be, looking forward to this opportunity and getting ready for the next bull run, where I do believe we're going to likely hit at least 6 figures, which is $100,000. Alrighty, that is it for the market update. We're going to go back to Wasim, and he's going to tell us about some crypto education.
I think it's actually Michael first, mate. So he's doing an.
Okay, yeah, let's do we'll do the breakout solutions update, and then we'll do the altcoin corner. So well said there, Matty. I think you explained things pretty well, and I think it's a good kind of segue into the next event, or the next major event that we are holding, which is on the 18th of the 6th. So it is a Saturday morning in Australian Eastern Standard Time. If you're in North America, it is in the evening. And so look, we're going to be revealing the 5 steps that you need to leverage digital assets to create wealth like the super rich do, without a lot of time or technical know-how. So we're going to cover knowledge on how traditional wealth creation principles can be applied to digital assets. We're going to go through strategies on how you can exponentially grow your digital asset portfolio, how to leverage that to generate hundreds of dollars a day in passive income, or in some of our cases, thousands, and how to protect those gains that you have worked so hard to create. So guys, these are all the secrets that all of us are using, but I've also used to more than 20x my portfolio since 2017 and generate more passive income in a month than some people earn in a year. So we know from experience that this stuff works. All's going to be revealed on the event. And like always, we always do giveaways. There's probably going to be over $60,000 US worth of prizes on the night. So it's definitely not an event you guys want to miss, especially given that we are maybe having a slightly extended bear market, and this is the time when you really need to be paying attention. So join up, jump on, and we'll catch you at the event. And I will stay on and shift to the next segment. So usually on Tuesdays we do financial education. Fridays we usually do Altcoin Corner. That can change, but this week I am going to talk about an altcoin called BNB. So anyone who is in crypto will know what the BNB coin is. It's the coin for Binance. And look, Binance is pretty much the biggest, what is the biggest retail exchange that exists, and it has really proven its worth since 2017. So, but what you might not know is it is a unique ecosystem of decentralized blockchain-based networks. And the company is growing to be the leading crypto exchange in a number of different countries, and their side organizations are attracting significant interest as well. One of the biggest competitive advantages that Binance has is its drive for development and innovation. So while the company started only as a crypto exchange back in 2017, I remember jumping on 2017 too, and I wish I held BNB since then because it was about 8 cents. Binance has spread its services among numerous different spheres. According to the company website, its mission is to become the infrastructure services provider for the entire blockchain ecosystem. Now, BNB is the native token for the Binance Smart Chain ecosystem as well. And so essentially gives you discounts on fees when you take actions on Binance's exchange. It's also used for gas to empower the thriving community of decentralized applications on the blockchain, which is the Binance Smart Chain. Now, I say decentralized because Binance and BSC particularly does get a fair bit of criticism because it is essentially a fork or a clone of Ethereum, where the network validators is 21 centralized network validators instead of a decentralized network like Ethereum. So that is the main criticism for Binance and the Binance Smart Chain. However, Binance is developing another chain, which I think they're kind of trying to merge everything together, or at least have a separate chain that does aim to be fully decentralized. So, given their power and given the amount of money behind them, I wouldn't be surprised if they do pull that off and we see a lot of interest moving towards that chain. As it stands, Binance Coin has over 120 use cases and is frequently referred to as one of the best utility tokens on the market. According to DeFi Prime, BSC is the second most used network for DeFi, just behind Ethereum. And actually, a lot of the DeFi stuff that we teach is also on the Binance Smart Chain. And what I might do, just quickly flick to a chart. I've just got a basic chart of BNB here, but when I talked about how it has over 120 use cases for its token, if you actually have a look at how far it has actually dropped since the high, it's only about 58%. I say only about 58% because a lot of the other altcoins are down 70, 80, sometimes 90%. So that just goes to show that, it is fairly resilient in the bear market. And because it has a lot of token use cases, because it powers the Binance Smart Chain, then usually that gives you a little bit of protection on the downside in these times. And we can see it is around the support area at the moment. As always, it does have, further room to go down. So, that's why we always recommend a strategy known as dollar cost averaging, where, you can buy some here, and if it goes low, you can buy some more, etc. So that's it for this week's Altcoin Corner, and bring everyone else in and do a wrap up, guys. What do we think the main theme across the weekend is, or maybe over the next week or so?
Yeah, I think for me, we've spoken about it this week, is the Fed meeting. We've had lots of negative news, especially in Australia. If you live in Australia, we had our interest rates hike up by 50 basis points last week. Lots of fear around people with, mortgages because they believe that there's going to be a couple of increases over the next coming months. So the Australian population is quite fearful with their increase in expenditure, like their monthly budget is probably going to blow out. So they're talking about, there's a lot of cost-cutting stuff on the news in regards to how you can sort of save a little bit of money. But I guess that's kind of removing that financial freedom that people are going to have, that we sort of educate people on. So I think the Australian public is going to see a bit of a economic downturn, a bit like America. They're talking about a recession in America, and if America goes into a recession, don't you worry, the rest of the world will also be following, because they are sort of one of the biggest markets along with China. So lots of stuff, lots of negativity out there. And look, it is part of, unfortunately, the economic system. But I do think we will get out of it in the next sort of 12 to 18 months.
Thank you, Matt. I've got to, what Matt says, I've got to agree with. In the short term, definitely in Australia, we're seeing a lot of negative news around the rising cost of living. I saw something on the news today about the price of petrol up in Queensland, spiking up. We are coming into a long weekend, so that usually does mean prices of petrol does go up, and we're seeing average price over $2 these days. There's an energy crisis, not just in Australia, but worldwide. And I think Matt really hit the nail on the head. And there's an old saying that I used to hear, which is, when America sneezes, the rest of the world catches a flu. And right now, it looks like America is about to catch a flu. So what happens for the rest of the world? Well, that is yet to be seen. Having said that, I always like to be optimistic and have a look at the bigger picture, as I've said in the past, which is, when in doubt, zoom out. Being in cryptocurrencies and understanding what cryptocurrencies has to offer to help us weather these storms is where things are, where gives us a little bit of hope. And we discussed today, America is starting to become friendlier towards cryptocurrencies. We've got a lot of countries who are taking cryptocurrencies quite seriously right now. So yes, the next 18 to 24 months are going to be a bit of pain. We're going to see a lot of blood on the streets, as they say. We're going to see some challenges for a lot of people, and there's going to be some people that are going to get wiped out. But I think the long term, looking 5 to 10 years, I think we've got a pretty bright future when it comes to cryptocurrency. So I know Michael says this and Mike says this. This is the time to be accumulating.
Yeah, look, you guys have said it pretty well. Main thing for me is I think what's reiterated to me is that Bitcoin is the #1 coin. And really, at the end of the day, it is still, I believe, it's the only guaranteed coin out of all of them. And I know it's a bit controversial to say that with Ethereum, all the rest out there, but it's the only coin that has really dominated its use case, of being a store of value and a form of money. Any other use case, including, decentralized applications like Ethereum hasn't really cemented itself as the guaranteed layer 1 chain. And when you see the Wyoming law where they're trying to pass, it is very, very Bitcoin friendly. It isn't great for other altcoins. They're trying to be very harsh on a lot of them, treating them as securities. And there's some of them that definitely are securities. Like, there's no doubt about it. But there are others that shouldn't be designated as such, which they're actually trying to do that. So I do think we still have a while to go for it to be more balanced across the innovation, across the whole ecosystem. But until that happens, you just got to make sure you are accumulating Bitcoin. I still meet people where they're like, oh, yeah, I'm in crypto. I've got Dogecoin, Shiba Coin, and all these others. I'm like, okay, great. Do you have any Bitcoin, Ethereum? No. So they're the guys that usually get wrecked when we see markets like this. So look, it doesn't mean you can't have any Shiba and Dogecoin, whatever. I think I've got a bit of both, right? But you just got to make sure you have a balanced portfolio, and it always should have a majority, if not 50% in Bitcoin, really, if you want to be as conservative and more reliable, and then the rest of it you can start to have some punt. So that was just reaffirmed to me, especially seeing that legislation over in the US being very Bitcoin friendly. So I'm definitely going to be making a more conscious effort to accumulate more, over the next 3, 6, 12 months, especially if we do see prices go into the 20s or below. I do think that's a generational buy opportunity. So anyway, not financial advice, it's just what I'm going to be doing. But so I'm super excited. I know, the economy going into recession is obviously not a great thing, but always in recession, innovation comes. We always come back better. So, it's going to be great from that perspective, as well as just a fantastic opportunity to buy at low prices. So let's stay optimistic and pay attention during this time, and hopefully we can help you guys with that as well.
Well said. All right, guys. Well, that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed our live stream. Join us for our next one on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, and we'll catch you guys next week.
See ya.